No, off. Off. Sit.
Somos destiladores y soñadores, creadores y cuidadores, granjeros y familia. Elevamos y mejoramos vidas en todo el mundo a través de la energía viva de la naturaleza, los aceites esenciales. Como pioneros del movimiento moderno de aceites esenciales, durante más de 25 años hemos establecido y mantenido este estándar en cada paso del camino, desde nuestras prácticas sostenibles de cultivo y abastecimiento, hasta nuestras investigaciones y pruebas de vanguardia para entregar consistentemente los aceites esenciales y productos con aceites esenciales más puros del mundo. Como líderes de la industria, dejamos la complacencia y la convivencia para los demás. No tenemos tiempo para conformarnos con el orden establecido. Todos los días mejoramos la vida de millones de personas, hacemos la tierra más verde y creamos un futuro más brillante. Somos YoungLiving, naturaleza destilada, vida mejorada.
Hola, ¿qué tal a todos? Bienvenidos sean a este evento de septiembre llamado Young Living Dream. Les quiero mandar un saludo a toda la gente que está conectada el día de hoy desde Zapopan, un saludo hasta Mazatlán, a toda nuestra gente que está conectada. Mi nombre es Alison y es un placer estar con ustedes el día de hoy, llevando hasta la comodidad de su hogar toda la información de Young Living y estas grandes ponencias que tenemos el día de hoy. Saludos a toda la gente que nos ve desde sus casas, de donde se encuentren. Muchísimas gracias. Estos eventos son realizados con la finalidad de que tengan toda la información que necesitan acerca de Young Living y aprendan muchísimo, como lo va a hacer el día de hoy. Muchísimas gracias a toda la gente que está conectada. Les recuerdo que también estamos transmitiendo desde el Facebook de Young Living México, así que síganos también por la transmisión de Facebook. El día de hoy tenemos 3 ponencias muy interesantes que preparamos para ustedes durante este mes, así que espero que la disfruten y que aprendan muchísimo. Obviamente, como todos nuestros eventos virtuales, se están grabando estas conferencias y las pueden encontrar en su oficina virtual al término del evento, y también se quedará en el Facebook de Young Living. Así que vamos a empezar con este súper evento del día de hoy. Saludos a toda la gente que ya está conectada. Ahí en el chat pueden escribirnos las dudas o los comentarios que ustedes quieran. El día de hoy tenemos grandes invitadas. Y para empezar el día de hoy, tenemos una participación muy especial de parte de Global. Así es, tenemos como introducción al Dr. Mike Buck, que es el director científico de Young Living Global. Él nos va a contar qué hay detrás de los aceites esenciales, pero de la parte química y la ciencia. Así es, vamos a tener al Dr. Mike desde su laboratorio explicándonos todo lo que ustedes necesitan saber acerca de la parte química y de la ciencia de nuestros aceites esenciales. El Dr. Mike es el director científico de Young Living. En su trabajo incluye el desarrollo de aceites esenciales, mezclas, nuevas aplicaciones, algunas peticiones por parte de nuestros miembros, estrategias y administración de los productos. El Dr. Mike cuenta con más de 25 años de experiencia en el sector salud y el bienestar. Él tiene una licenciatura en química en la Universidad de Franklin y Marshall. Entre sus aceites favoritos se encuentra el RC por su aroma refrescante, y él comenta que lo coloca en su oficina y en todas las partes en donde se encuentre. Así que vamos con el Dr. Mike desde el laboratorio para que nos explique la ciencia detrás de los aceites esenciales.
Hello, YoungLiving Latam family. I'm super thrilled to be here today, standing outside the YoungLiving headquarters in Utah, next to one of my heroes. Mike Buck is our, and of course, Mike is looking for himself, but I am so thrilled, Mike, to have you here with us. Latam loves you.
Oh, thanks.
You have a big following in Latam, and we love every time we have
And
the
I love them
opportunity.
right back, Gabby. It's a great place to
Yeah,
be.
the opportunity to spend time with you is so important to us, because every time we're with you, we learn. And that knowledge that you share with us is shared hundreds and hundreds of times. So super excited to be with you. Today, we have decided to talk about 3 of the main essential oils that we have in Latin America that we all love. And one of them is lemon, and the other one peppermint, and finally we'll talk about a little bit of lavender. So we have the best setting here.
Yeah, outside of the global headquarters building here, we actually have what we call our demonstration garden, where we grow a lot of the plants that we distill to make oils out of. And so we thought we'd come out here. It's such a beautiful day. The one plant we don't grow in Utah, though, is lemon. But they're raised in Mexico.
Yes.
I want to mention that.
Mike, as you know, we have a beautiful farm, the Finca Victoria farm, and we have had that farm for now almost a little over a year, and is just amazing to be able to tell our members we grow our lemons in Mexico, and that's part of what we share with the world in our company.
And that's really, a great example of our seed to seal story, because you can actually go to the farm and see the lemons being grown and see the oil being produced. And you can come here and see it being bottled, so you can see the entire process literally from seed to seal, which I think is really something that sets Young Living apart. Now, lemons are interesting in the fact that the essential oil in the lemon is actually only in the rind. It's in the outer shell. And the way we extract the essential oil from these lemons is to peel them and then take those rinds and put them through a process that we call cold pressing, We literally just press the rinds and squeeze the oil out of it. There's nothing that could be more natural than that. I always thought it was really interesting to note that the essential oil itself is in the rind and none of it is on the interior in the fruit. And of course, that's why chefs like to take lemon zest, because that's where the luscious oil exists. Now, lemon oil is really rich in limonene, which I'm sure a number of you have heard of. Gets its name from lemon. It's rich in things like beta-pinene and gamma-terpenine, and we'll talk a little bit about those compounds later. But I know that a lot of you already know that limonene is a really good solvent. The chemists are. Meaning it dissolves lots of things, so it's great for cleaning. It dissolves grease, so you can add it to almost any cleaner and get a little boost to help remove grime from almost any surface. It also tastes great. How many cleaners do we have that actually taste?
Part of my routine. So any oil that I use every day becomes my favorite because I connect with it very well. And lemon is one of those that now, once I learn about essential oils and I learn about lemon essential oil, I cannot drink water without it. Yeah. So every time I have cold water, ice, a couple of drops of lemon, amazing.
And honestly, you can put it in almost any drink and it lifts the flavor. It's just a very nice, refreshing, lifting flavor. So get out there and try YoungLiving lemon essential oil. There's nothing more pure on the planet and you're gonna love it.
Mike, that was actually very interesting to learn about lemon essential oil.
Yeah, it's cool.
That takes us to the next one, peppermint. And we're actually standing here in front of peppermint plants. So what do you have to share with us about peppermint?
So peppermint, or Mentha piperita, is one of the most versatile aromatic plants in the world. We distill peppermint, water distill peppermint, essential oil from this plant. There are many different mints that grow all over the world, but they have one interesting characteristic that they all share, and that's the fact that they all have square stems. Look at that, Gabby.
So it is actually, I can touch into the touch, it's clearly square.
Yeah, and if you're outside and you're exploring and you see an interesting plant and you suspect it's a mint, you can always tell if it's in the mint family by that square stem.
Wow.
It's really interesting.
Never thought about that, or never knew that.
Now, the essential oil of peppermint is stored in very small structures on the leaves and somewhat on the stems. And those structures are called glandular trichomes. They're like little bubbles, basically, on the surfaces, usually the undersides of the leaves, that actually are reservoirs for the essential oil. And they're too small to see with the naked eye, but if you use a magnifying glass or a microscope, you can actually see these little bubbles all over the bottoms of these leaves. And that's why if you rub a leaf like this, you'll break the bubbles and you can smell the mint on your fingers. That it releases the oil that way. And this oil is also easily released by steam distillation. Those little bubbles rupture and then they're carried off with the steam, and that's how we get our peppermint essential oil.
Peppermint is also one of my favorite oils. I use it almost every day. My kids' favorite also. Anything is one of those that we always go to. There's something that needs to be fixed or needs help. Peppermint is one to go to.
Me too, and that's why it's so popular all over the world. I wish you all could smell what we're smelling right now by standing here, because we're getting all kinds of peppermint.
Bees around, Mike.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see them on camera, but there are bees everywhere, and we're being very brave to stand in here with them. They're not interested in us at all. They're interested in the peppermint flowers.
So many.
And it's interesting, in North America alone, we have over 300 different varieties of bees, or species of bees. And of course, the bees are dependent on the peppermint, and the peppermint is dependent on the bees to spread the pollen. And it's a very interesting synergistic relationship. We're very glad to be able to provide gardens like this, because there's actually a bit of a crisis in North America with the honeybee population decreasing. And of course, this provides ample food for them, so we're helping in that respect. Now let's talk about the oil a little bit. The main components of peppermint oil are menthol and menthone, and that's what gives it that characteristic minty flavor. But menthol is a compound that's responsible for a cooling sensation on your skin as well. So if you're able to rub menthol or the actual peppermint oil on your skin, it will feel cooler. And that's because humans actually have a very specific chemical receptor built into their skin, and it's known as the TRPM8 receptor. You don't have to memorize that.
I was gonna say, I'm not gonna repeat that.
But it's a very specific mechanism where menthol in the peppermint binds at a receptor, and then that triggers a nerve response that goes to your brain, and the nerve response is a cooling sensation. So it's really an interesting compound. Because of that very specific chemistry, menthol is highly sought after right now by the food industry and the pharmaceutical industry in particular. So there's a very lucrative synthetic business for making synthetic menthol for those industries. It's really important to beware of where your essential oil is coming from. Make sure it's ours, because we can guarantee that you'll never find a synthetic menthol in our peppermint.
Yes, Mike, and this is why we love talking to you, because even though we have experience, we understand the sensation that peppermint oil triggers, we don't understand what's behind it and why we feel the way we feel and how important it is to have a pure peppermint essential oil.
And peppermint isn't necessarily the easiest thing to grow. It grows well in sort of a moist, cool climate, not Utah. This is irrigated very heavily. But our peppermint actually comes from a supplier who's been growing peppermint since World